Okay, good morning everyone, and welcome to our webinar on how AI can optimise your fleet to improve efficiency, reduce risk and emissions. My name is Adam Clanton, Senior Motor Risk Consultant at Zurich Resilient Solutions, and I'll be your host today. We have a really interesting session in store for you featuring Optimise, who are one of our solution partners. For those of you who aren't familiar with Optimise, they specialise in helping fleets optimise, decarbonise and transform using powerful AI-based algorithms, which are proven to reduce cost, increase productivity and cut emissions. And I'm delighted to say that we have Colin Ferguson, CEO of Optimise, and Dr. Ross Conroy, Head of R&D, with us today on this webinar. To give you a flavour of what to expect this morning, Colin will provide us with an introduction to Optimise and an overview of their optimisation platform, My Transport Planner. Then Ross will talk us through some of the technical wizardry of what makes their solution so unique and effective. And this will be followed by a brief case study video featuring TV's Rachel Riley, who is also the brand ambassador for Optimise. Then finally, we'll move into our Q&A session, so please use the chat function to capture your questions throughout the session and we'll pick those up at the end. Today's session will last around 45 minutes to an hour. We'll also be recording the webinar and we'll send that link to you as soon as the recording is available, as well as posting that online. Before I hand over to Colin and Ross, I'd just like to take a moment to tell you about ZRS and our motor risk services in particular. ZRS is part of the Zurich Insurance Group, but you don't need to be insured by Zurich to access our services and solutions. Our aim is to provide a holistic approach to building resilience across a range of risks, including climate resilience and sustainability, cybersecurity, supply chain, property and motor fleet, to name but a few. Zurich has provided risk support to organisations in the UK for over 75 years. We have over 150 risk professionals in the UK and a further 800 in 40 countries across the globe, plus a network of specialist solution partners, which means that we can support your risk management needs wherever you are located and whichever industry sector you are in. Moving on to motor. At ZRS, we understand the present and future challenges that motor fleet operators are facing. The need for continuous service improvement whilst operating safely, reducing environmental impact and navigating tough financial conditions means that demands placed on operators has never been greater. We have a range of services and solutions to help you overcome your unique safety, sustainability and efficiency challenges. Whether that's driver assessment, training and education, route optimization, decarbonisation and transitioning to low emission vehicles, or digital solutions for driver handbooks, vehicle safety checks and driver engagement. We're here to help and we'd love to hear from you. So now let's move on to the main topic of our webinar, and let me introduce you to Colin Ferguson of Optimise. Colin, over to you.
Thank you, Adam, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join this webinar. As Adam has said, I'm going to be showing our online optimization platform called My Transport Planner. And My Transport Planner is designed to automate the planning process for fleets, considering electric and low emission vehicle attributes, which I'll cover in my presentation, and generate savings and efficiencies as a result of using the platform, measured in a reduction in emissions, an increase in productivity, and a reduction in miles travelled and costs reduced as a result of using the technology. It's also proven to reduce risk, and it does that by safely constructing routes and schedules, at speeds that vehicles should be travelling rather than overspeeding, and avoiding incident black spots, different times of day, in terms of traffic, and by overall reducing the miles, that reduces risk. So I'm excited to take you through this platform, and I believe we'll take questions at the end of the presentation. So I'm going to share my screen now, and I'll walk you through the demonstration, which should take around 15 minutes. And this is the live platform, so it's not a demonstration per se. This is actually what our fleet customers use. But just as a little bit of a preamble to talk about who are our fleet customers and what are the use cases. So we have clients in all sectors of fleet, transport, logistics, retailers, manufacturers, and service engineers. So we have clients who use this technology to solve their, planning problems and also, risk, compliance, and safety. In terms of some headline statistics, this platform is proven to reduce miles by typically 20%. So if you reduce miles by 20%, you're reducing your costs and emissions, and again, reducing the risk because you're spending less time on the road. It's a multi-award winning platform, and we recently were recognised as one of the UK's most trusted brands in the fleet sector. So it just gives you an idea of what, how this is perceived in the marketplace. It was also described recently as the Netflix of route optimization by motor transport. And that's because we've made this a service-based platform that users can just log on and use with our commercial models being pay-as-you-go or fixed-term contracts. So you can truly, as a fleet operator, just try it out and see if it's going to work for your operation. So let me take you through the platform itself. So when a user logs on and registers for the service, they would be presented with a blank system with prompts around how they set the system up. So the first steps in setting the system up would be populating their company details, setting depots up if that fleet or organisation planned over multiple sites, and setting the resources up, which is their vehicles and drivers. Now, I've got a use case here, which is a multi-drop delivery company use case. But as I've said earlier, we have engineers, we have retailers, logistics, the whole spectrum of anything that moves in the UK that has wheels, essentially, that, this platform is applicable to. So if I go into the resource section, the sort of information that we would capture against a resource when we're setting it up would typically be the registration of the vehicle, perhaps the driver profile, who's driving the vehicle. We also have an integrated mobile app, and I'm going to come into that a little bit later in the presentation around its functionality, what it does, and how that helps reduce risk and increase compliance and safety at the same time. So I'll cover that in the latter part of the presentation. In the resource section, you can also set up the depot or home location that driver is based from. So typically engineers would be based from home. Quite often, where logistics companies, the vehicle is based at the depot. So that can be set up within the system. We can also allow overnights to take place. So we have customers who will go out on multiple day trips. So the system is capable of considering that. And the vehicle parameters, if this is a delivery company, as this use case is, you might consider weight, cube, footprint on the vehicle, the size. If it's a tanker company, it could be the litres on the vehicle. If it's sales reps, it could be the number of appointments per day. So, quantity and capacity means different things to different folks, but hopefully that gives you an idea. One point to call out that's pretty fundamental to the system, clients invest in this system because of the sustainability features, as well as the risk reduction and savings and efficiencies it generates. So we can put in the range of electric vehicles. We can sweat those assets to get the ROI on those vehicles that they've invested in. And this can also be a procurement tool to encourage the uptake of electric vehicles and other low emission vehicles by modelling the scenarios within the system. So not only is it a tool that can be used daily to optimise journeys, it can be used as a modelling and procurement tool for the right type of vehicles. So it's a big feature of the system. I won't call out every feature here, but we have an emissions calculator. So again, part of the sustainability piece, it works out all the emissions in every single route that you produce. So you don't have to report as a user at the end of a period. And it will do that automatically to let you see the emissions. And it also lets you see the impact positively against what you perhaps been doing manually before. So we take a lot of clients from manual planning to automated planning using this tool. The last set of fields to call out are the shift times. So this is around, again, compliance, risk, safety, making sure that the plans are only created for the shift times that the drivers have. And the speed time multiplier, travel time multiplier at the bottom ensures that the system is considering the right speed profiles from different vehicles at different times of day in different geographies. So that's where, the compliance part comes in, and the reduction on risk to that element comes in as well. So that's the vehicle setup. The other part of the equation for the system to then produce the routes is the jobs themselves. So if we move on to that section now. So we have a job management section that consumes the jobs generally from a back office system. We've integrated with most of the back office systems in the marketplace, so the jobs can come in via API or through a manual import, and a job itself would cover, the job number, where it's going, the quantity, how long a job takes, is it a delivery, is it a collection, where are you heading, in terms of the location, what's the time window, and any special attributes against the job. So these are the typical parameters that we capture for every client, no matter what they do, because everybody has to go to a site to perform a task, whatever that task is: a visit, appointment, a delivery, a collection. So the system is generic to all business types, really. So moving from this section to the actual planning itself, and hopefully you can see that this is very easy to navigate, very intuitive. It's one of the reasons the system is multi-award winning, because we've made it very easy for the users to interact with the platform rather than be a complex system. So as a planner of workloads, whatever that workload is, then what would happen in our tool is you're presented with the jobs that need to be scheduled or optimized, with the vehicles that are available to do those jobs available at the right-hand side of the screen. Now, we have features that allows manual interaction, such as a nice pen mode. So if a user wants to draw around jobs to manually allocate to vehicles, they can do so, and then the algorithms will automatically sequence those jobs. But the best way to optimize the workload using this platform is to select the optimize button and put the date range in that you're planning for, and then select optimize. Now, this process takes around a minute for that sort of size of workload, which is around 1,000 jobs. Typically, that might take multiple people in an organization hours at a time. This is done in a minute. So that's the first benefit of the system for the user, that they can automate the planning very quickly. Now, as it's doing its planning, the jobs have been sent to the algorithm. The algorithm itself is based on artificial intelligence, as is the theme of this webinar. And what that really means is it's using artificial intelligence search techniques to work out the best answer possible. So heuristic algorithms are the normal standard approach for optimization, but we're more advanced in that, using proper artificial intelligence, and Ross will cover that on his presentation. So I'll just put that in as a high level point. We also deal with machine learning, which again Ross will cover in his presentation. So to let you understand the speed, it's finished its planning process already. And to visualize the data that the system has created, you can go to the current summary screen, which is a dashboard of statistics that the system has actually created as a result of the process. So it takes a minute or so to build the dashboard and reports, and it lets you see what the system has done. So there you can see how many resources we've used, how many jobs we've done, over what shift time and over what distance. I hadn't set up my emissions calculator or the cost per mile or the revenue, but had I done so, those statistics would be populated. So you can see at a glance, I have all my information. I can also visualize a route on the map. So if I wanted to go in to see what that route is doing, considering all the factors that I mentioned earlier, it shows me the order, the sequence, and the statistics against that route. So we'll have all of that at a glance. You can also drill into an individual route that the system creates, and it gives you the shift time, and it also gives you the ETA on each individual route. And I mentioned the mobile app side earlier. The mobile app, as you can see, it has a header on the system that I'm highlighting now. As the driver goes round his or her route, it will tell if that route is on time, if it's being completed successfully, delivered or collected, whatever that fleet is doing. And we also have a live dashboard that shows if everything is on time. Or what, if anything, is running late. So quite often clients will have that on a big screen in their office. So we have the ability to show the dynamic side of things as well. But touching on some of the functionality of the mobile app, the mobile app itself has vehicle defect compliance, which automatically emails a user group if there's any defects on the vehicle before the driver takes that vehicle out. And if that is a defect that is an unroadworthy vehicle, it will say to the driver on the app, hey, you can't drive this vehicle, please report to whoever your line manager is. If it's just a defect that needs to be fixed, but the vehicle's roadworthy, then absolutely it'll log it, email, and then the driver can go on about his or her business. So to wrap up on the presentation, before I hand over to Ross, the other features that the system has, and you may have noticed there, it has a middleware module, and that's to configure rules and parameters that perhaps the client can't themselves give to the system. So we can hold rules within the system, and also within the mobile app we have integrated sat nav, and that's also where the safety and compliance piece comes in, because the routes that the system has already produced, and let's say an example could be an HGV route that can only go on certain roads, might have a width or height restriction or weight restriction. The navigation will navigate the driver around that route that the algorithm's created, considering those restrictions, rather than send that big vehicle down a narrow lane, which may cause an incident and so on. So it really is an end-to-end solution for fleet operators to, in summary, automate the planning process, reduce risk, increase all the good things, and reduce all the bad things. That's essentially, in summary, what the application does. So I'm very happy to take questions at the end of this presentation. Hopefully, that gives you a flavour of what the live system looks like. And then now I'll hand back to Ross, who I believe is going to share his screen and do a presentation on the techie bit around the AI and machine learning. So thank you for that.
Yep,
Ross,
thanks.
I'm going to hand back to you. Good.
Yep, thanks, Colin. So yeah, I will begin a little bit on why we use AI to power algorithms. So one of the questions I get asked quite a bit is, if computers are so powerful today, can't we just brute force the problem? This is what I wish was certainly possible to make my job a lot easier. So in short, the answer to this is, for a very limited use case, sometimes you can brute force it, but by this I mean a very small number of stops. However, the problem soon hits exponential growth. So I'm going to go a little bit of the numbers and maths behind this. I'll try and keep them easily followable, so hopefully I don't lose too many people here. So to keep things simple, I'm just using a single vehicle example here. But these numbers will grow even faster as soon as you include multiple vehicles. So to calculate the number of possible combinations of sequences for stops on a route, this is calculated using something called a factorial, which is quite simply, say, like 4 factorial is 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, which is 24. So if we had 4 stops, it'd be 24 possible sequences. So as you can imagine, 24, that's well within what we could brute force. But if you go up to 5, this would multiply that by 5, going up to 120. And you hopefully see that's a lot bigger than 24. So sort of following this on, you get sort of 6 factorial, 720. If you go up to, if I jump to 10 factorial, that's 3.6 million possible combinations. I'm not going to go through every single number, but at sort of a modest root of around 20, this comes to 2.4 times 10 to the power of 18, which would be a 2,4 with 17 zeros. And just for fun, when you get to about 45 or 50 stops per route, you start hitting numbers comparable to the number of atoms in the observable universe. And these don't even take into account the added complexity of multiple vehicles with different skills and all that sort of fun. So the key takeaway here is even with a modest number of stops, you go way beyond what can be brute forced. So hopefully for this, you can see there's no way we're brute forcing this, or if we could, we'd be using all of the cloud compute's resources all at the same time. So the key question here is, what is AI doing to avoid the need to brute force? The key answer is shortcuts and approximations. With many of these approximations are inspired by the way nature works, like how our brains can take little shortcuts. To give you an idea of what AI shortcuts look like, I like to use an analogy from how the human brain processes information. If you ever walked into a room and jumped out of your skin thinking there's someone in the room with you, only to discover it was just a coat hanging up the whole time, you'd be familiar with this sort of shortcut. Your brain is constantly scanning for information of the world around you, but it would take too much energy to process everything around you. Instead, it's got little shortcuts that's gone, oh, there's something scary over there, respond now. And it's just identified a coat that looks roughly the shape of a person. Much like we can't assess every possible sequence, AI must also take shortcuts to identify potential sequences that are likely to be optimal, or at least close enough to optimal that it can manipulate further towards something that's more optimal. So moving on, so what is an optimization algorithm? This is a little diagram. It's a very high-level overview of what an optimization algorithm looks like. Essentially, our algorithm's taking in an input problem containing all the attributes that Colin spoke about previously, which is all the jobs to complete and resources available. It will then create some baseline strategies to form an initial solution as a starting point. These strategies are already using AI techniques such as clustering and ant colony optimization to form a strong starting point. This isn't a final solution. This is just one of the shortcuts mentioned earlier to create something that can then be worked on to make further improvements. Next, the algorithm will enter a loop whereby it will keep processing the same solution over and over again, making iterative improvements to it. And under the hood, there could be many, many different algorithms that can make different improvements in different ways. This could be switching jobs between vehicles, finding a more optimal sequence for a particular route, or switching out a vehicle for another vehicle that might be more efficient for that route. That sort of changes under the hood. And this will keep continuing on a loop until a stop condition is hit. This could be either the rate of improvement has dropped below a threshold with diminishing returns, or you can set a time limit, and there's other thresholds you can use to set it to stop. This constant improving of a solution sort of puts our algorithm into the category of what's known as an anytime algorithm in AI. Anytime algorithms are ones that could be stopped at any time, and the output is considered a valid solution. However, the more execution time you give it, the better solution you get. And there's usually a trade-off between execution time and solution quality. And usually there's diminishing rule of returns. So moving on. How do our AI algorithms differ? So one of the aspects of optimization, especially when you start interacting with the real world, is all of the variability. You can't account for everything. As you can imagine, every optimization problem will have something very unique about it. This makes it impossible to create a one-size-fits-all solver, or at least almost impossible to create. So instead of trying to establish ahead of time which strategies to be used to which problem, we use a method taken from AI called Monte Carlo tree search. This technique takes the past performance of each algorithm, and then so if you look in this this takes the past performance of each algorithm and we'll choose ahead of time which one to use. So Monte Carlo tree solver will give each solver a try, and it will give it a score based on how well it did. So if I could move on to the next slide. So here's a heavily simplified version of Monte Carlo tree search. By heavily simplified, I mean normally you do like an hour's long lecture in a master's course to figure this out. So essentially what Monte Carlo tree search will do is it will start by choosing a strategy with the highest score. It will then execute that strategy for a few iterations, and then it will compare the results of that strategy against the previous solution. And if there's a major improvement, it will increase its score. And if there isn't a major improvement, it will decrease its score. So what this has the effect of having is the strategies that do well for a particular problem start to rise to the top and get chosen more often, whilst the strategies that don't do so well will start to drop off and get chosen a lot less. So again, moving on, what additional benefits this bring. So I do come from a bit of an academic background, and I can never resist the opportunity for a good graph in a presentation. What we have here are two charts showing a problem being solved. However, what we've done this time is turned off Monte Carlo and we've locked in their strategies. The top graph shows the number of jobs left to still be assigned to a vehicle. Ideally, you want that to hit 0. And the bottom graph is showing the overall route costs. That's taking into account all the distance, time, and all the other metrics. And both these are plotted over execution time. And in each graph, the same color is the same solver that's been locked in. So hopefully what you can see is there's a black line that really quickly gets everything assigned. But in the second graph, it can't make any further improvements. But in the second graph, there's a red line that continues to make improvements. So what Monte Carlo will do here is it will notice that the black one has stopped making improvements and will start trying the other strategies and will eventually settle on the red one. And that will start making further improvements. This allows us to have the best of both worlds. We get that fast initial solution whilst continuing to make further improvements to that solution. So again, just moving on. So what about machine learning? So this is from AI and machine learning are the same, but they're not the same, but they are related. Machine learning is learning from data and AI is applying that learning. So the analogy I like to use, if you play any sort of form of sports, the machine learning part is watching your competitors' plays and past matches to see their patterns. And then AI is acting on those patterns when you face them with a counter strategy. And again, moving on, we've got the just some machine learning use cases. So here's an interesting use case in the sort of picture here. Hopefully you're familiar with, comes up quite a bit, is traffic patterns. Traffic patterns, it turns out, is a lot more complex than you might first initially think. Different areas of the country experience traffic very differently. If you squint your eyes very carefully at this image, you can hopefully see it's a heat map. And it's a heat map of the UK. Down in the southeast, you've got London. And then in the southwest, you've got like the tip of Cornwall. And then where it's like very sparse at the top, that's like the far north of Scotland, where there's not as many roads. And this heat map is taken for 8 AM on a Monday morning, which is sort of like the busiest sort of time of day. And the reason why you can see stuff out to sea is this has been generated using something called K nearest neighbours. And it's plotted it for every single sort of pixel in the image. So unfortunately out to sea there are no roads, so it has to somewhat choose the nearest road on land. So that's where you get a sort of like spread out pattern. So each spot is essentially, you try to find the number of the traffic density for that area. And of course we haven't filtered out the sea, because if we were planning over sea, something really badly has gone wrong at that point. So some further other areas where machine learning can assist. Talked about, I think briefly earlier, was driver habits from telematics data. If some drivers are accelerating braking harder than others, you may want to reward better driver behaviours that show lower risk sort of patterns. Anomaly detection is a fun one. Often it's not the normal everyday that you're worried about, it's the abnormal. So this is things like a vehicle suddenly stopped or isn't completing its deliveries on time. Hopefully you can spot this in time to be actioned. An example of this might be you've spotted in data a driver suddenly moving a lot slower than expected. It might be an indicator of unexpected congestion, which you might want to update your other drivers and route around. So that's the sort of like the dynamic piece. Which also leads into instant hotspots. Using sort of similar analysis, you can sort of figure out where those sort of areas are where incidents are likely to happen and try to route around it. And lastly, clustering, which falls under the machine learning umbrella. You may want to do cluster analysis on places that you frequently visit, and this might cause you to sort of redeploy where vehicles and resources are located. And I believe, moving on, I've got someone much more glamorous to go through a use case demo for you all.
Hi, I'm Rachel Riley and I'm here in Leicestershire with a team at Optimise to see how Optimise AI algorithms are being used by Palex for its new service offering called Nexus ETA. Now, this new service, powered by AI algorithms, are going to allow its customers to see predicted collection and delivery times. And this was previously just used mainly in the parcel sector, so it's a huge breakthrough and it's going to lead to improved customer service and operational efficiency. But don't take my word for it. Let's go meet some experts who can fill us in with the details. Hello.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi,
Nice
Rachel.
to meet you.
You
You're
too.
right.
I mean, loving your place here.
Yeah. Well, if you walk with me over here, I'll just explain.
So Dave, thanks for showing me around the premises where the magic happens. I want to find out now a little bit more about the tech side of things. So what your IT looked like before you got involved with Optimise and where it's going.
What we had to do when I first came here was, in essence, rebuild from ground up. That provides us with a foundation that we can then build on with Nexus ETA and Optimise to provide additional services for our members and customers.
So Nexus ETA is the first stage of implementing Optimise once you've done all the groundwork to make sure it was going to be compatible.
Exactly, yeah. So once we've got that foundation, we can then link up with the algorithms and all the intelligence that Optimise has built, enabling us to leverage that.
And what kind of USP does it bring to you as a business and to your customers?
Within the pallet sector, it gives us a USP around providing delivery windows. It's something that's out there, but it's not particularly done well. And what we recognised with Optimise was that this was a partner that we can trust, we believe in, they've got a clear roadmap that will take us forward.
Well, thanks for telling me about the tech side of things, how that all works. I think it's right now. I'm going to go off and I'm going to go find out how this has improved your offerings on the business side. So thank you and excuse me. Kevin, Natalie, hello.
Hi.
Hi. So I'm learning all about the company and I'm interested to learn how Palix and Optimise, this partnership came into fruition. So can you both tell me about it?
Yeah, it started really with our ambition, our principal objective of achieving excellence in everything we do. And we wanted to create a service enhancement for customers using the technology to pre-advise them of when their deliveries would take place. People have done that in the industry, but never done it well. And so we looked about who had the technologies that could support our own technology that would give us a market-leading product. And that research led us to work with Optimise, and we discovered in that process that we shared very common values in what we were seeking to achieve.
So as you remember coming in for the pitch, what were your main points, your selling points?
So I think it was, as Kevin said, that we're really aligned on strategy, and actually the innovation within Palix and within Optimise is clear. So there was real alignment, and actually the shared objectives of enhancing the customer experience, reducing mileage, increasing productivity, and making the business more efficient and helping operationally. It was also the professional approach. So during the due diligence process, there was a lot of work that went on there in terms of the supplier selection and also the communication we thought would be a great partnership.
And from your experience, what are your clients, what are Optimise's clients being, most pleased with, most surprised with once they're using the technology?
It's a multitude and touching on that. So I think in terms of their own business, it's around improving that efficiency. So again, streamlining processes, improving time to plan, as well as making those savings. And also talking about the customer experience, it's hugely improved in terms of understanding when things are going to be delivered and the most efficient way.
Oh, thank you very much. So I've heard about the tech, I've heard about the business side of the operations, but I'm going to go and find out from the horse's mouth, someone who actually implements it on the road. So do excuse me and thank you very much. So I've heard about all the tech, and obviously from Optimise I've heard about their AI and the algorithms and even quantum computing, but from your end you don't need to know about any of that?
The next stage is the route optimization, and when that comes into play, that's really going to be beneficial because that should cut down mileage, possibly even resources of vehicles. So, the long-term sustainability for that is just going to get better and better as the optimization sort of grows.
Great, well thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed this whistle-stop tour of how Optimise's AI is improving Palix's customer offer, how it's driving business performance, and how it looks set to continue improving efficiency for many more years to come.
Thank you, Colin and Ross. That was a great overview. I think it's fascinating to hear how AI really enhances the outcomes, and I can clearly see how that would be of great benefit to fleet operators. I did notice in the chat during that video that there are a few people that might not have been able to hear the sound for that. So just to remind you, when the recording goes out, there will be links to the video. So apologies if you had any difficulties, but you'll be able to watch that at your leisure after the session. So we're now going to go into our Q&A session. So just a quick reminder, if you can put that we've had some questions come in during the session, so thank you for those, but please put some more in now. But we're going to kick things off with a poll to start with. So hopefully you'll see that pop up on your screen, or perhaps it's in the chat. We'll give you a couple of moments to respond to that. Okay, so I can see the question: do you think optimization and AI has a role to play in the fleet sector to reduce risk? And fortunately, you can hopefully you can all see the responses there, but it's a fairly even split between strongly agree and agree. So that's good. We've obviously done a good job in explaining that to you, so that helps. Okay, I think we can close that poll now. Thank you for responding to that, and we'll have a quick scan back through the questions. So I'll open this up to the panel. Perhaps Colin, this one's for you. This is a question from Paul Laycock. Are brokers able to have access to the system to demonstrate to fleet operators?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so Paul, yes, is the short answer. We can set up user accounts for different brokers and populate with dummy data, anonymized data that allows you to present. Sometimes we have different data use cases, because it may be that one of your fleets is a transport company, another is service-based, so you want to be showing service-based anonymized data versus, you know, transport and delivery information. So we can set that up, no problem, and it's just a case of contacting us, and we can do that, no problem, and provide a little bit of training as well.
Super, thank you, Colin. Okay, and then Simon has mentioned, I think this relates to when you were providing the system overview, Colin. Some of the typeface used in the system was a little small when it was on the screen. So is that, are you able to adjust that in the live system? Is it nice and clear and legible for those who might struggle with their eyesight, like myself?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not sure the browser resolution, Simon, you're using, but yeah, generally you can make it any size that you want. That's local settings. I mean, I used my settings, which is on a laptop, so that may have came across slightly small when you go into Teams as well. So it's probably just a combination of my laptop and Teams. But if it's on a proper size monitor with the correct resolution, I don't think we've had any clients say that that's an issue to them. But you can make the font as big as you like. Yeah.
Smashing. Okay. I'm just scanning the chat function. I'm just going to try and refresh it because I can't see if there are any other questions come in the meantime. So we do have some time still left. So if you do have a question for Colin or for Ross or myself on any of the ZRS services and solutions, please use that chat function now. I think we've got a new one come in. Okay, this is from Sarah. How can Optimise's software support me with the journey to net zero? Good question.
Yeah, I can answer that one succinctly. I mean, we have lots of clients and operators use our technology to help them in that journey. So one of the obvious ways is that we can reduce CO2 and emissions by reducing the miles that folks travel. So the low-hanging fruit is to decarbonize their existing ICE vehicles, internal combustion engine vehicles. The other way is that you can use the tool to model the transition to electric vehicles or other low emission vehicles. So you can take the historic workloads that fleet may have done, and then you can say, right, okay, what if we have electric vehicles in play with limited ranges and payloads and or other low emission vehicles? What does that look like from a cost point of view? What's my ROI? And how operationally can I actually do that? So, very much a centerpiece of our company strategy is helping fleets on that journey to net zero, and it's becoming more and more relevant for organisations. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, super. Good answer. Thank you. So I think we've got a couple more. So a comment from Paul. In the email out, can we provide links so that we can contact to showcase the demonstration to fleet haulage operators? I would suggest absolutely.
Sure, yeah. I mean, if things can come to myself in the first instance through the links that you've got, then I'll point that out to my wider team, who can then contact whoever's made the inquiry, and we can, set up demos, benchmarks, whatever we need to do. But I think it's probably worth calling out that we offer a free benchmark service for all fleet operators, and really what that means is taking a representative data set from what they maybe plan manually, and then comparing it against what the system would do. And what that really does is show hopefully the positive deltas in the metrics, including the mileage reduction, emissions reduction, and so on, and time and shift as well, of course, and comparing it to what the algorithm would do. Typically 20% is a number we arrive at quite often, which is a real big number, which means commercially the technology is self-funding, because it's a SaaS-based product, so we invoice monthly in arrears, and therefore the customers had the saving before they need to pay us, and therefore it makes it truly self-funding, instantaneous ROI. And I'm very happy to talk through that with anyone who wants to contact me.
Excellent, thanks, Colin. And just on that point of payment for the solutions, Colin. You've got various different models, I believe. Is that right? So people can sort of dabble in it before sort of going full scale. Do you mind just explaining that a little for us, please?
Of course. We're the only company in the UK that has a pay-as-you-go option, which means you can use what I demonstrated today by simply logging on, registering for the platform. There's two ways that you can pay. You could pop a business credit card in and buy some credits, so that's unique to us, or you can be a subscriber and be invoiced monthly in arrears. But there's no contract term. It's truly pay-as-you-go. Hence why we were described as the Netflix, if you like, of optimization to be able to do that. So that proves the system works for the user, and then they can see the benefits before they perhaps commit to a long-term contract. If they want to do a longer term contract after the pay-as-you-go, or as a result of the benchmark results that we offer, which often happens, we offer terms between 1 and 5 years. So really the user can and the company can choose what suits their organisation. I would say the vast majority, Adam, start on pay-as-you-go, validate the system's going to work for them, measure the benefits, understand the risk reduction, etc., and then they commit. So for us, that makes it easy for clients to consume the technology rather than think about it as a lengthy process, heavy contracts at the front end, things they need to install. You just don't need to do that.
Excellent. Yeah, that sounds that takes the hassle out of exploring the system, doesn't it? So yeah, that's fantastic. Christopher has asked, who should I contact to arrange a free benchmarking exercise? That be yourself or one of the team?
It'll be one of the team, but if everybody goes through me in the first instance, I may live to regret that, depending how many emails that come in. But if you send it to my email address in the first instance, then I'll respond and copy in my team who would deal with that, and then they can arrange that benchmark for organisation. Just to let you know the process, if it's an end user, we have an Excel template, so we can send the template out. the customer populates it, we process the data, and then we do two things. We A, create a set of results to show them the outputs, and B, we present it live in the system that I demonstrated earlier so that they can see that it actually works for their organisation. And it's usually off the back of that, you've got your go or no-go decision to perhaps consider pay-as-you-go at that point. And of course, we sign a mutual NDA for any receipt of data before we start. So the process is very straightforward. We run multiple benchmarks per day, that come in and for inquiries. So we're geared up to do that.
Super, thank you. I don't know if you're able to comment on this today, Colin, but Paul has asked a question regarding what the costs are involved.
Yeah, very happy to do that. We're very transparent on our costs, and we circulate that online to anyone who needs to know about it. Basically, the cost ranges on a longer term deal from 49 pence up to the pay-as-you-go pricing at 99 pence per asset per day. So really, if we can save 10-20% on mileage from a purely cost point of view, we only need to save 99 pence per vehicle per day, but on a pay-as-you-go, or 49 pence if it's a multi-year deal. We are usually seeing somewhere in the region of 10-20x savings, so it becomes self-funding. Usually, on fuel alone, we could be saving a gallon of fuel or a few pounds per day per vehicle, and that's before you get to the other benefits. When we think about risk and we think about premiums, we think about costs. If we can avoid and reduce, incidents, then again, that's another element. So costs, the feedback from our customers, it doesn't really come into it for them because it's self-funding. But that's indicatively an idea of what it costs. There's no upfront, there's no training. Everything's included within that 99 pence per vehicle, or down to 49 pence depending on the term. So we're talking pennies per day basically, or pence per day.
Super, thanks, Colin. And Peter's asked an excellent question regarding what sort of sizes of fleets are best supported by My Transport Planner. Is this really just for the big operators, or is it also of benefit to smaller operators?
It's very much a benefit to smaller operators. I mean, I think you saw Palex in the case study. Their group has around 1,500 vehicles, so that's an example of someone over 1,000. Our sweet spot is somewhere between 25 and 150 vehicles. So we have a lot at the SME side of the marketplace, and then obviously we have a number between 250 and over 1,000. When it comes to sub 25 vehicles, we have a lot of customers there as well, and we've even got clients who've got 5, 6, 7, 8 vehicles, so it absolutely can be used for smaller fleets. I think if you get below 10, however, there is a benefit. But there's obviously less of a benefit for micro fleets. So I think we would normally say 10 and above is where we operate, but we have in the past done less than 10.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, there's no more questions in the chat. So if you do have and want to ask the last question, then please pop that in now. Otherwise, I think we're able to close the session. Okay, so just before we close the session, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us today and for all the questions that you provided us. I'd also like to thank Colin and Ross from Optimise for providing us with such an interesting insight to their solution. Hopefully, you can all see the benefits of such a system. And just a reminder, if you'd like to know more about any of the products and services presented today, please feel free to reach out to us. Our contact details on the screen, and will also be sent to you as a follow-up after the webinar. So thanks once again, and enjoy the rest of your day.